Community is always a big part of it, because through cars I met a lot of friends that I have now. A hobby in general is something that really brings people together, which is a very, very cool thing. And I think I got a lot more relaxed with what cars mean to me. I think it's a really, really cool tool to get people together and do events and, build projects or build creative projects around cars. My name is Maximilian. I'm a native Berliner and I'm a creative in the media industry. As a kid, you could start with motorcycles or mopeds, or how we call it, mofas, so like motorized bicycles. So of course the motorcycle somehow was before the car, because we just had the opportunity to do the license with 18 years old. The interest was there on both ends, so motorcycles and cars, and it basically switched every couple of years with a more interest in cars or more interest in bikes. It's working on the bikes, it's customizing the bikes, so that's what's really interesting. Yeah, riding a little less, to be honest. It's more like spending time in the workshop with the people, and racing is also very interesting. I mean, I started with the age of 18 and then like really like small modifications. And I think more intensely around 8 years ago with friends who have like a professional lift and a workshop. I dove into like working on the brakes and suspension and fixing more deeper mechanical stuff. But it's it's good for the professionals to do the work. So yeah, I teach myself, and basically friends of friends, and then of course professionals who have a workshop, who do that every day after work. You could come by and ask the questions, and it's also avoiding some extra costs because you're not doing any extra mistakes, which are cost intense. So with the help of the friends and like another pair of eyes checking what you're doing, you feel more secure on working on cars. So Kraftwerk started out of a community garage. I personally really thought, okay, it could be a little tricky to share the workshop with a couple of people, because you're always searching tools, and I had to leave my own workshop where we've just been 2 people working on motorcycles in the first place, and switched to another motorcycle community garage in Kreuzberg, and from that garage the core team from Kraftwerk Berlin found itself, and then we said, okay, maybe let's find a cool spot to have a good coffee, bring friends together, and share the hobby. The first one was actually pretty easy, so it was a lot of fun doing the artwork, and then I basically went through my phone and called my friends, and then it was like, okay, are you willing to get up early on a Sunday morning to just have a good coffee? Yeah, maybe, I don't know, 15 cars or something. So really intimate, but super cool. And it felt really relaxed, and I think it still is kind of relaxed. It grew organically over the years, and you always see familiar faces. So it's like you have a core group of people coming there, but there's always like an exchange. So I think it's like the mouth-to-mouth communication that's going on, and I think that's very refreshing to always see like new cars, and I think that's also what people come for, to see or to get surprised. It's always been a little tricky to get like a community together in Berlin. So there were some car meets in Berlin who tried some new things. The city is so big and flat, and there are many amazing cars out there. But it's kind of hard to get people, activated to come to one event. And I think there are right now, also because of social media and so on, some similarities between the cities. Of course, you have in each city like, let's say, people who are driven to make a cool event for their city. So, for example, the Sundowner by Emis Garage in Hamburg, or Heizer in Stuttgart, and or I don't know, Porsche-related Onassis, in the West. And I think, so that's pretty cool. And there's also some interaction going on between these cities. Yeah, I think nowadays it's all open pretty much. So there is no like real scene anymore, in my opinion. So it's much more open-minded, and the different scenes mix more. And yeah, so that you can say, okay, Hamburg is Mopar city, so a lot of US cars. Yeah, there are still a lot of US cars, but I think, yeah, it kind of disappeared just a little bit.
Is it hard to modify cars in Germany with all the regulations?
I think that's a question for a real hardcore tuner, but I think just from the talks with the different groups, of course, it's always tricky, and you have to find the little I don't know, solutions to go like legal. If you look to Poland, for example, or other countries, or the UK, it's much more easier to customize a car. So, which is also the same for motorcycles. So you always see the most radical builds in other countries, but I think you see the most rideable ones in Germany. So that's kind of good and also difficult situation at the same time, because sometimes I'm quite happy that we have a TÜV who also checks some safety stuff. And but of course, you can always get in a fight if the angle of a license plate is not right, or the little things. One of the most spectacular projects I've been supporting is a moon motorcycle. It is an electric bike that's built by Huki in Dresden. I think Reload Land is also something that's really something to be proud of. So the first electric motorcycle festival also, which happened here at Kraftwerk 2 years in a row. I'm so interested in different projects, so that there is not really a favorite, because every project has its own charm. So yeah. So I had a Dodge Dart, or I still have a Dodge Dart from 1966. It's a station wagon. It's my current daily. I bought it as a project car and just fixed it with friends, but I have to say I'm no professional mechanic, so it's more a hobby. And yeah, and then there are like projects aligned in a barn somewhere in Brandenburg. The most recent car is a 1994 Suzuki Vitara, and yeah, it's a summer car. And of course, you always find a little rust here and there if you're working on Japanese cars, which are 30 years old. Yeah, that's the most recent one. What cars mean to me, you have to go through the years, because it's something different back then when I started and now. I think at the age of 18, and a lot of people can probably relate, the car is the thing that you want to have. It represents freedom. I've always had like classic cars, so I've never wanted a new car. So it's also something that you identify with. So you want to be more individual. But I think that's a thing of our generation as well, that a lot of people are searching that. At a younger age, I think it was much more important, in the sense that it was a thing to represent yourself and be seen. And of course, community is always a big part of it, because through cars I met a lot of friends that I have now. Also with the motorcycles, from a lot of different angles of the society. So I think that's something, a hobby in general is something that really brings people together, which is a very cool thing. And I think I got a lot more relaxed with what cars mean to me, in the sense of how they need to be, how to use them. Now people can sit on the hood of my Dodge, and if it's a good party, then yeah, or there's another scratch or something. So I'm not really that picky anymore. So everyone can basically drive my car. If you crash it, you fix it. Yeah, and right now I think it's a really cool tool to get people together and do events, and build projects, or build creative projects around cars.